All right, Mom, here's your breakfast. It's okay. I don't want it. I don't need anything. Mom, just eat it. I don't want you to go hungry today. Just do it, please. Okay, no worries. I'll save it for later. I know how you hate to waste that food. Here's the snack you requested, Mom. Mom, stop following. I have a puzzle over here for you. Just do the puzzle. Honey, where are you? Hey, Mom, I have a job for you if you're up for it. Sure, honey, what do you need? I have all these towels I don't have time to fold. Maybe you could fold them for me while I get this other thing done. It's time for your shower. Let's go. No, I don't need a shower. I showered yesterday. No, Barbara, not this again. Come on, let's just go. Leave me alone. I'm fine. Something really special just came for you. What is it? It's a gift from your granddaughter for Grandparents' Day. Here, I'll have you take a little smell. Ooh, lavender, my favorite. Your granddaughter is calling later today and expecting to hear how you liked it. I showered yesterday, though. I know, but it would mean a lot to her to hear how it went, so why don't we just rinse off real quick and use it so you can tell her. Dementia caregiving and you're not sure what not to say? In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 3 things that are not the things to say if you want to avoid an argument or a lot more trouble when it comes to your caregiving, so that you can avoid all the mistakes that I made when I first started. Welcome to Dementia Success Path. This is the place where I share activity ideas and tips, as well as some tips on how to talk to your loved ones with dementia, so that you can find success on your path as a caregiver. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you know when a new video is uploaded. Also, let me know in the comments if any of these mistakes are something that resonate with you or something that you've done, and feel relief to know that you are not alone. With that said, let's hop right into the video. Honey, I need to leave. Mom, you need to stay here. No, I'm leaving. No, Mom, you're staying here, okay? No. If there's any phrase that I know that conflict is almost guaranteed to happen, it is this one. And it is so tempting to use it because our folks will sometimes do dangerous things, like getting up when you know they're going to fall down, or they're trying to wander out the house into the middle of the street and you're scared for them. It's understandable. But I'll tell you what, I promise you, treating your loved one, your adult loved one, like they're your child doesn't work. They may have just enough memory to remember that they're older than you. They're an adult and they have done things their own way their whole lives, and they don't take kindly to someone, especially that is younger than them, telling them what they have to do. Quite frankly, no one likes being told what they have to do. So what you can do instead is a couple things. First, ask them why they need to do what they need to do. Maybe it's something you can actually help them with, or something you can help facilitate that will make it safer so that they continue to have as much independence and autonomy as possible. Because while their ability to organize things and keep themselves safe starts to diminish as their dementia grows, it is so important for someone's dignity and someone's independence to be able to still have someone on their side. And secondly, what you can do is, if what they're asking you is not possible or something that is extremely unsafe, something you can do is give them choices of an alternative. That way they feel like they're at least in control of what it is that they're going to do, and not feeling like they're just trapped and forced into a situation which virtually guarantees that they will freak out on you, which is not something any of us want. Honey, do you remember where I put my keys? Mom, you put the keys on the dresser, remember? How am I supposed to know where you move my things? Mom, I didn't move them, remember? Okay, you need to stop lying. Telling your loved one to remember something is a very hard habit to break. Because in the regular world, where generally you remember most things but maybe forget small details of various things that you did, it's easy to just have a little reminder to be able to recall what it is that you need to recall. What is important to know about dementia is that that's not the case at all, even very, very early on. What'll end up happening is that the memory will completely drop out. So for somebody who is in early or middle or even late stages of dementia, that memory is not even kind of there. It is completely gone. So if you are dropping little reminders, all that is doing is frustrating your loved one even more because they don't even have the reference memory that you might have. So what you can do instead as a caregiver is simply answer your loved one's questions and don't have an expectation that they will be able to recall even the smallest of details. Hey honey, what time is it? Mom, I already told you it's noon. I didn't ask you before, you little jerk. Mom, I did tell you already, okay? You've asked me this like 10 times. As a new dementia caregiver, something you may not expect is that your loved one may repeat themselves over and over and over and over again, and that after answering for the 10th time, it's very tempting to say, I already told you. But the truth is, they don't remember that you already told them. And usually what happens when you get frustrated with them and you say that is they will defend themselves even harder. They will get angry at you, or they'll even lash out at you. So what you can do instead is a few things. First thing you can do is just take this as an exercise of your patience and just calmly answer their question. Now, if you cannot handle this anymore, and this is the 20th time you've answered this question, another thing you can do is put up a reminder. Like if they continuously ask for the time, there are some large digital clocks that you can get for them, or you can have a whiteboard and write out a few small reminders that they tend to ask you about all the time that you can simply point to if they need their answer. Or a lot of times, especially in the mid to late stages, folks are just looking for something familiar. When they're repeating something, they like that familiarity. So a way you can kind of break that pattern is play for them a familiar song. And that way, their brain can focus on something that is familiar and not feel the need to constantly repeat themselves. And finally, you can just give yourself a break. If you're the only one watching your loved one, you could put on some headphones, or if it's possible for you to leave the room or leave your loved one with somebody else, then do that. Know your own limits and know your own boundaries. If you like this video and you want more tips on how to better talk to and relate to your loved one, I have a free guide in the description box below. As well as if you're looking for a community, there's also a Facebook community that I run that I think you'd really love, also in the description box below. And again, thank you so much for watching my videos, and I really hope to see you in the next one.
Grandma, come on, we gotta get going to the doctor. We're gonna be late. No, I'm not gonna go. Oh my God, Grandma, I don't have time for this. Please, we gotta get going. Let's go. The truth is that the outside world is too overwhelming. So instead of being able to tell you that because of the dementia, I instead refuse to go. Learn how to find the why behind the 4 most common challenging behaviors by joining our virtual 3-day workshop. That way you won't. I need to go home. Let me out.
What are you doing? Stop.
No, you're trapping me here and I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna listen to you.
Why do you do this every afternoon?
Okay, pause. So normally during this part, I would show you what to do. But you know what's better than me showing you what to do? You and me practicing this together live.
So we're putting on a free 3-day event where you'll get to practice with Krista.
The reason why we're doing 3 days is so that you can learn some strategies with me, go and then practice with your person with dementia, and then come back on the 3rd day to either share your wins or learn what you're doing wrong. So to join, click on my profile and click on the link in my bio. That way you don't get stuck with, I need to go home. I have your breakfast. Oh, honey, I already ate. Okay, Mom, you haven't eaten already. I don't want you to go hungry. Just eat this, come on. Oh, you already ate? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Well, I'm just gonna put this down and leave it with you, just in case you get hungry a little later, okay? All right, Mom, here's your breakfast. It's okay. I don't want it. I don't need anything. Mom, just eat it. I don't want you to go hungry today. Just do it, please. Okay, no worries. I'll save it for later. I know how you hate to waste that food. Here's the snack you requested, Mom. You're a stupid idiot. You never get done what I want done. Why are you so dumb? Oh my God, Mom, stop. Okay, Mom, I can't help you when you're being mean. Okay? So, do you want my help? Or do you want some alone time? Linda, stop. Stop taking off your clothes. If you see disrobing, I know it's easy to react, but try this instead. Okay, Linda, why don't we go and freshen up a little bit, okay? We'll get you some privacy. Could you just stop being an idiot? Linda, that isn't nice. And while you're at it, you should consider losing a few, because you look terrible. Oh my God. If your person with dementia is insulting you, here's what you can do. I hear you're frustrated, Linda, but I can't help you when you're saying mean things. So do you want me to help? Or do you want me to leave you alone? Mom, what are you doing? I need to get out. Open the door. You can't leave. The door's locked. Help! 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 If your person with dementia does something like this when they sundown, try this instead. Where do you need to go? I don't know. Just open. Okay, let me show you where we can go outside, okay? Come with me. Grandma, you're wearing too many shirts, and I think the first one's dirty. You need to change it. I look fine. Leave me alone. Oh my God. Hey, Grandma, I bought you a new shirt. Would you try it on for me? Well, okay, I suppose I could. Oh my goodness, Grandma, you look so good. You need to wear that for the rest of the day. You look amazing. Hey, Mom. Mom? Why are you calling me Mom? Mom, it's me, Krista, your daughter. Before you do this, I know this is so hard, but consider trying this next approach instead. Does me calling you Mom make you feel uncomfortable? Yes, it makes me feel a little weird. Hopefully I didn't hurt your feelings though, right? You're not hurting my feelings. I feel like I know you from somewhere and there's a lot, like I know you. It's no worries. You know, I'm calling you Mom because I feel like you're a mom in my heart to me, but if it makes you feel more comfortable for me to call you Linda, then I can. Hey honey, have you heard from your dad? Oh, okay. When was the last time you saw Dad? It's at least been a few days and I miss him. Have you seen him? You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Dad might be on a business trip. So I'm sure he'll be back soon. In the meantime, could you help me with something real quick? Honey, could you turn up the temperature in here? It's freezing. I'm gonna freeze to death. Grandma, you're sweating right now. There's absolutely no way you could be cold right now. The one thing you're missing is that circulation gets worse with age, so it could be their hands and feet that are cold. So give them gloves or really warm socks when they keep saying they're cold instead of layering on a ton of jacket. Hey Grandma, it's time for your medication, okay? What are you talking about? I don't need these. I'm healthy as a horse. Yes, you do. You need these for your blood pressure and your dementia. Come on, just take them. My blood pressure's fine and I don't have dementia, so go away. Get those out of my face. Oh my God, not again. Please, just take them, please. Hey Grandma, you got busy and you left your vitamins on the table. Here. I don't need those. Who said I need to take vitamins? No worries. Your primary doctor prescribes some vitamins to make sure that you feel better and that you stay healthy so you can keep doing all the things you want to do. So why don't we take them together real quick and then we can go off to the mall. Beth here with me. So Beth, why don't you introduce yourself and share what you do as far as professional caregiving goes?
Well, hello, everyone. I live and work in Duluth, Minnesota, so right at the tip of Lake Superior. And I've been only at my position now for about a year and a half. I work at a small nonprofit agency called Age Well Arrowhead. This area of Minnesota is known as the Arrowhead, so that's why that is there. And so one of the services I provide is caregiver coaching, caregiver consulting, and respite care. So I've been working with that. I've been trained as a facilitator through the Alzheimer's Association, and we were all supposed to start a group of persons at early stage diagnosis, and then COVID hit, so that group never happened, like so many other things. So caregiving is just one of the roles I play at this job. We also provide other in-home services, so homemaker services or cooking or transportation or groceries, all those things that help our seniors stay healthy and active in their homes for as long as they can. And through the course of this year, as COVID, as you all have been dealing with, our caregivers are exhausted. So if you are a caregiver, my heart goes out to you because it's exhausting work. And as you found, all sorts of services started shutting down and pulling services and like adult day programs, all of those things that would give you some respite as a caregiver, all that stopped. And here you were 24/7 with no end in sight, needing to provide care and support for your loved ones. So we did a lot of telephone consultations because we weren't going into homes either. But just as I would talk to my caregivers weekly, we would just try to offer them whatever encouragement and support we could give them. So that's kind of what I do at this point.
Yeah. How did you get into professional caregiving?
It was kind of a circuitous route. I worked in ministry full-time in different churches and in campus ministry at one of the colleges. I then became involved with a dementia-friendly choir here in town. So that's a choir made up of persons living with cognitive decline, their care partners, and then volunteers from the community. And I realized I absolutely loved it. You know, learning that music sits in a part of the brain that is last affected by Alzheimer's or dementia. So exposing, being around persons with Alzheimer's who can maybe were aphasic or no longer able to communicate in any tangible way, but you put music in front of them and they can sing. So that was a real life-changing moment for me. And then again, COVID hit, and so that choir had to take things off site for a while and kind of just started doing a lot of Zoom sing-alongs. But I thought, you know, I need a job for one thing, and this just kind of fell into my lap. And I didn't start out as a caregiver associate or provider, but I worked my way into it. Did a lot of training, like I said, through the Alzheimer's Association. The Minnesota Board on Aging has a dementia capabilities training. And I don't know if other states, I'm presuming other states have, you know, their own state board on aging. It would be worth investigating, because if you want to learn more about dementia, about Alzheimer's, about what to do and how to live with it and how to cope, check it out. So I did a lot of that, did a lot of caregiver coaching training. Again, our area is very supportive and trying to provide all sorts of services for folks. So that's how I got into it. And now that things are opening up again, I've been able to actually go into the homes and meet with clients, meet with families. And I myself then am providing respite for one of our clients. Her mother lives with her full time. Her mom it's kind of an undiagnosed dementia. It came as a result of another illness. But this daughter, again, 3 years, her mom has been with her full time, and no other support from anybody else. And her family wasn't really helpful. So I started hanging out with her mom for a couple hours every week. And so I get to practice what I've been preaching, so to say. I can see where it's firsthand how exhausting it is and how you always have to kind of think on your toes. And what worked one day does not work the next day, you know, or what worked 1 hour does not work the next hour. Or 1 minute they recognize you, the next minute they have no idea who you are. So it's kind of a big ball of stuff to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So this series is definitely all about helping give at-home caregivers and even some professional caregivers some tips on what works with some challenging behaviors. So what challenging behaviors have you seen? And I guess we'll start with that first, and then we'll roll into what's worked.
Sure. Just firsthand, working with this one person in particular every week, it's channeling their energy, because a lot of these folks with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, they're still fairly healthy and they want to go places, they want to do stuff, and it's just trying to channel that energy into something or a diversion. As we know, you don't argue with them, you don't there's so many things you can't do with communication with a person with Alzheimer's, but how do you refocus their energy? So again, when I spend time with this woman, I have a big bag of stuff I bring with me every week. So sometimes it's just magazines. She used to garden. So, finding out what the person liked to do before they were diagnosed with this illness, finding those interests. It maybe was gardening or quilting or, going on trips or, whatever else, visiting, talking about grandchildren. So I spend a lot of time just pulling out something out of my bag, say, well, let's try this. Or very convinced, this woman is often, that there's somebody else in the house. And so we kind of go on a little scavenger hunt and finding out that, there's nobody there, and, those darn shadows. And it's something, because often they're afraid at that point. They're afraid. And this woman knows she has dementia. So every now and then she realizes that. She goes, that's just that brain again. So we talk through that, and then we move on to something else. So that's a lot of the experience I've had, is just pulling out all sorts of things and trying to help them not dwell or be obsessed about something in particular. Sometimes this woman is sad, and we kind of talk about the sadness a little bit. And then I say, well, what should we do now? And I give, saying, should we do this or this? Kind of giving a couple of choices of, options of things to do. But again, every person is different, and learning how to roll with it. I haven't had to deal with, because I'm not caregiving in a home full time, I haven't had to deal with the getting up in the middle of the night, or other issues, bathroom, toileting issues, things like that. I haven't had to deal with that. I do know that, I'll give a plug to the Alzheimer's Association. They have that toll-free number for caregivers, and it's answered day or night. And if you're having a problem, you call them, and then you will talk to a person who chances are has had to deal with that same thing. So I cannot stress that enough. Reach out, call the Alzheimer's Association, call, if it gets bad, call the doctor, talk to a care coordinator. But how to, reach out. So find those tools for yourself. Where are those things? I'm presuming you have local chapters of the Alzheimer's Association where you are. And I know here they've taken all their support groups online. And there's probably local numbers for you to call and reach out for help. That's the biggest thing, because so often folks think that, wow, this is my family, this is my loved one, I'm going to deal with myself. Nobody else needs to know my stuff. And it's hard breaking through that sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to reach out for help. And I think one of the biggest things that I've seen surprises a lot of new caregivers is a lot of us from the outside, before we know someone with dementia, think, oh, it's just memory loss, they're just forgetting things. But oh no, there is a wide range of things that can be affected because of dementia. And I know you mentioned a few of them, like the hallucinations with the shadows, and the delusions or the false beliefs, and there's all kinds of things. And it's such great advice that you gave about being able to just kind of roll with whatever it is that person's dealing with.
It's not easy. And if it's your loved one, there's all the emotions that come with that, but learning how to roll with it. We have one caregiver and her husband, he does some very silly things, and the wife has learned how to be able to laugh at some of that. I realize that's what it is now. That's what life is now. I'm going to also plug Teepa Snow. You and I have talked about Teepa Snow. Even if you don't subscribe to any of her videos, like a paid subscription, if you do a search on her, she has videos that show, how to deal with this particular behavior, how to work with this, how to communicate with this. She also helps you realize that a person with dementia, they start losing a field of vision. So their field of vision narrows. Their hearing changes. So learning how to modify your behavior in order to adapt to what their physical changes are. Like learning, you don't sneak up on somebody. Well, we don't like that anyway, but especially if you have dementia, you don't, that's scary for you.
Yeah,
So,
it's so interesting how you're so right that it isn't just mental changes, it's also like perception changes. I know one of the caregivers in my membership were talking about how there was some dislike in food. And I know in the past, some of my patients have suddenly disliked food they've liked their whole lives because the texture felt weird to them.
Right.
So
Right.
it's that's definitely something important to keep in mind for sure when you're caregiving, that could really divert a lot of situations that might have been difficult to deal with.
Yep. Especially like with food, again, learning about, it's like, not to say, well, you've always eaten this food, so now what's wrong with it? That's kind of where we go sometimes. It's like, well, because they're not going to be able to explain to you what's wrong with the food. They just know they don't like it. So then you start presenting options. Well, let's try this one, or let's try this one. And, dementia and Alzheimer's feed on sugar. So you might find that your loved one has a real affinity for sugary items, or they like to be able to carry their food around the house. So then finding what can they carry around the house that's still safe for them to eat. One client who would walk around the house with cheese sticks. Okay, if he had one in each hand, he was good. So
yeah, sometimes there's a delusion where some of them think that like their food is just going to be snatched from them, and who knows, it could have been from past experiences in their life that's bubbling back up. So yeah, definitely whatever is safe and whatever helps keep our folks calm, is definitely going to be the thing that works.
The other thing that's nice to have with somebody is like a memory box. What are the things about their life that you can put together in a box or a bag, and then it gives you a conversation starter, or a photo album. We have one of our caregivers, they have a respite provider companion who made these beautiful photo sheets, pictures of a particular person and all the information about that person. And so this woman, she laminated it, and it sits on their coffee table. And so they can talk about that, and together they can share in the fact that, oh, these are people who are important to her. So that is a really neat thing to do.
Yeah.
And it might be, we had this one woman I spent time with, she has a little photo album, and every time she flips the page, it's a different person. And for her, and it might be the same sequence of people, but every time is different. But she knows that that's her family, and she knows that she loves them. And that's a great tool to have if somebody's agitated or you can't focus. It's like, tell me about this. Let's look at this. Again, it's all about diverting attention and trying to focus energy. Go for a walk around the block, and come back to a new thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that a lot of at-home caregivers think about, like all the suggestions about diverting and activities, is like, oh, I don't have time for that. Like I work a job, or I have, kids. Like there's a really shocking amount of people that are like my age in their early 30s who are caring for parents or grandparents at home with kids.
Right.
And it's wild. So I can definitely see why it's so easy to think that you don't have time for this stuff. But there's another interview that I did with another at-home caregiver that so adequately said, you don't have time not to do it, because it gives back so much time that you could be spending arguing and fighting and being in all this strife. Like these things will actually hand you back more time in the long run.
Right.
For sure.
The woman I provide companion for, she's a former seamstress. So one day I brought in a big can of buttons. Didn't know what we were going to do with them, but it was a wonderful conversation starter. We pulled out the different buttons, and what would you use this one for? Or she would match some of them and say, well, these would work for my whatever. So finding things that would be a good distraction, a good diversion, help channel their energy, and just a nice conversation starter. That's what I found to be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So if there is one piece of advice that you would give to caregivers, both like professionally and at home, that you have seen help the most, what piece of advice would you give?
Be gentle with yourself. All right. Remembering that you are doing the best you can with what you have. All right. And that's a professional caregiver too. We don't have all the answers. We can, we can help you figure some things out, but it's learning how to be okay with kind of the mess that is right now, and reach out. Have one phone number of somebody, whether it's Alzheimer's Association or somebody that you can just reach out to and say, I just need 5 minutes, or will you talk to my mom on the phone? Sometimes that's also a nice thing for that person to do. They go back to their old self and they start a conversation, and it's like fun. But I think really just be gentle with yourself. Don't expect, manage your expectations. You're doing the best job you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the phone idea. First, I've heard so many caregivers say, like, I don't have anybody to pass off my loved one to. So that's a fabulous idea. If your loved one happens to be somebody who is very social and loves talking to different people, that's a great solution. I love it. Any last thoughts? Or
the other thing too, really be aware of the vision loss, the vision changes, because so often we like to whip out our phone and say, well, what about this? Or look at this. That person may not be able to see any of that. So if you're showing pictures, if you want them to see something, bring a bigger tablet or a laptop even, or just a real picture, realizing that, just because you want them to see this really cool garden or a bird doesn't mean they can't see it. So can realize those. I think that's the thing that I learned the most was to realize that there are all these other physical changes, and be aware of that. Be aware of their field of vision changes. Be aware of their change in hearing, the taste, so just kind of being aware. It's not, dementia is not an illness that stays the same. It progresses, and it progresses differently in each person.
Yeah.
But do find one outlet for yourself, one telephone number of somebody you can call, just to say, let me think about something else for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's it. Grandchildren are good at diverting grandparents. Sometimes you just the loved one might not even remember who that person is, but as soon as they hear that child say, hi, grandma, there's a switch that flips and they get into grandma mode, and go with it. Children are really resilient, and a lot of times we tend to shield them from things like dementia or Alzheimer's. Involve them. They are resilient. They know how to love their grandparent no matter what, or parent even, So
yeah.
kind of the advice I have at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we can sum up everything that we've learned from this interview by definitely reaching out for help, knowing that dementia is so much more than just memory loss. It's physical changes, it's perception issues, it's sometimes mental health issues that weren't there previously, and just knowing what works as far as activities, diversion, because it gives you back so much more time. And of course, the biggest thing, just ask for help, man. Ask for help.
Right.
Yeah. So Beth, thank you so much for all your wisdom. And
you're welcome.
I hope this helps anybody, especially who just had questions about maybe why their loved one wasn't responding to their pictures even.
you ever been accused of doing something that you clearly didn't do, or something that it would have been impossible for you to do? And no matter how much reason, logic, evidence you show your loved one or your client, they continue to accuse you anyways, and it just feels like an endless, frustrating cycle. Not to worry, my friend. Help is on the way. In this video, we are going to be talking about the root cause and some mistakes that caregivers make when it comes to accusations. So with all that being said, let's jump right in. So what are accusations actually? Accusations in dementia are when confusion, or simply them just being embarrassed that they have forgotten what they have forgotten, causes someone to react in an accusatory way. So instead of them saying, I forgot X, I don't know where I put X, they will instead look to the closest person to them and say, you took X, or you did Y. To them, it is extremely real, and the root cause of accusations are fear. Accusations are a way to mask fear. Something that one of my mentors had told me at one point was that anger is fear's bodyguard. And it's so true, because what the accusations do is it helps the person with dementia avoid having to confront the fact that they have forgotten what they've forgotten, or they've lost what they've lost, and it helps them stay in control. Now, the top 3 things that most people with dementia will accuse folks of is one of these 3. 1, stealing items. 2, that they are trapped or you won't let them leave. And 3, that their spouse is cheating or having an affair. Most of the time with accusations, usually whoever happens to be around is going to be what I call the target. If you notice that your loved one or your client is accusing you and no one else because you happen to be the one around the most, that they see the most, it's not in your head. That's what happens, is if you're the one around, you are the chosen lucky one. Or even if you are a distance caregiver, if you're on the phone with them the most often or engaging with them the most often, you're probably going to be the target of their accusation. So I'm going to share with you the top 3 mistakes a lot of caregivers make when it comes to responding to this, so you don't make these mistakes. The first mistake is a lot of caregivers will try to defend themselves. Now, this would work in literally any other circumstance where someone is accusing you of something. But the problem is that they may have forgotten that they have misplaced an item, and to them the next logical step, since they have no memory to draw from, is that someone may have taken it from them. Another thing to consider as well when it comes to defending yourself is delusions are oftentimes very, very common with dementia, and delusions are fixed beliefs. And don't worry, that's going to get its own month. But for now, when you are fighting up against a fixed belief that's not based in reality, you are fighting up against confusion, the memory just straight up not being there, you are ultimately not going to win. They're going to deny forever. So instead of defending yourself, what you do instead is you look towards the root cause of that accusation, which is fear. It's fear of not being in control, fear of losing what they need, that person not being faithful. Ultimately, it's fear. So acknowledging that fear is going to be key to diffusing them. Saying something along the lines of, that really stinks that you can't find your wallet, is going to go a lot farther than saying, I didn't take your wallet. Trust me, it's very hard to do. But with a little bit of practice, it's something that will work a lot faster and a lot easier to diffuse the accusation. The second one is telling your loved one or your client that what they are accusing you of is not real. And while, trust me, that may be true out in the world that you and I live in, to them this is reality. And trying to convince someone with a broken brain of a different reality just does not work. It just doesn't. They can't take in new information the same way you and I would be able to. So like we had said before, validating the fear, listening to them is going to make a huge, huge difference. I will just straight up listen to what they're scared of, and that's enough to get them to calm down. The last mistake is we try to ignore the accusation altogether, just stonewall them. And while this is very tempting
And something you might hear from some people saying, just redirect them, just change the subject into something else. I found that going a complete 180 and ignoring their concerns completely usually doesn't work. It usually pisses them off further. Like if you've had an experience of getting ignored by somebody when you're clearly stating a concern, most of the time it doesn't go over well. In my experience, it usually doesn't, unless someone is, I'd say, very, very, very late stage. Oftentimes, it just doesn't go over well. So again, like the other examples, validating that fear, saying that you hear them and that you are here to help them usually does the most good. So with all that being said, next week, we are going into some things that may be triggering accusations that you may not know about. And in the next weeks, we are going to go deeper in exactly what to say, like exact phrases that you can use for these exact situations, as well as exact activities in the last week. So again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.
Hey there. So in this video, we are going to learn a few things about delusions. We are going to be learning the difference between delusions and hallucinations, why people with dementia get delusions and how they could be formed, what all delusions have in common, 3 most common delusions, and some steps to responding to delusions. So if all that sounds good, let's hop right in. So a lot of people will talk about hallucinations and delusions interchangeably, but the truth is they are very different things. So hallucinations are senses being messed up. We see and hear things that aren't there, whereas delusions, our beliefs are messed up. We're mixing up different events that we've seen or different memories that we've experienced, and we're creating a false belief. So why do people with dementia get delusions or false beliefs? There are definitely a few reasons. Number 1, they are having trouble putting together things that they've experienced in chronological order. So for example, if your mom saw you pick up and move the keys a week ago, it's possible that later on when she can't find her keys, she's going to get mixed up what she saw a week ago with what's happening today. Second, she is having trouble holding on to new memories. So for example, your mom may forget that she was the one that hid keys like a couple hours ago or even a few minutes ago. And third, she may be mixing up other things that may not actually be memories. There could be maybe a movie she watched. It could be a story somebody else told her that she could be mixing up as her own experience. All these things combined together can create an unshakable false belief. A quick example of what a delusion coming together may look like is, let's just say a couple weeks ago you had a discussion with mom that she shouldn't be driving anymore. This upset mom because she wants to hold on to her independence at all cost. So she hides her keys in a random drawer thinking, my daughter will never find them there. And sure enough, when she needs to drive, she goes to look for her keys and can't find them. And it's not just that she has forgotten, because most of us can remember that we've forgotten. It's as if it never happened in the first place for her. So she pulls from the memory of her daughter putting the keys down in that previous discussion weeks ago, the feelings she had of anger when she was talking to her daughter, and the current event that the keys are missing, mixes it all together, and boom, a false belief is born that her daughter stole the keys. All delusions can be put into 2 categories: beliefs that others are trying to do them harm, and just thinking of things incorrectly. So in the first category would be someone stealing things, someone's poisoning them, someone overall is just trying to do them harm or not let them do what they want to do. Examples of them just not identifying things correctly would be them not being home or them not being at a place that they clearly are. Responding to somebody with delusions can be so hard because oftentimes the person that is their primary caregiver, the person who's around, is often the target of their accusations. So here is what you don't want to do. First, you don't want to defend yourself, tell them that they're wrong, try to convince them of your point of view or innocence, show them evidence, or use logic and reason. Instead, you want to use these 3 steps. First, you want to repeat back what it is that they're telling you that happened. For example, if mom's saying that you stole your keys, you could say, okay, you're saying I stole your keys? That way they know that you're listening. Second, you want to get all of the details possible so that you fully understand the situation. For example, it could be, okay, the keys were over there. And third, you want to give an explanation that would make the most sense in their reality. So if mom is adamant that you stole them, an excuse that makes sense is you saying, oh, I just misplaced them. That way you're making your intent not malicious, but it makes sense in their mind instead of trying to waste your time trying to convince them of something that is just, they're not going to be convinced of. So again, to reiterate, repeat, clarify, and give an excuse. So there you have it. We've learned about why delusions happen, what it looks like, and how to respond. I am so excited to see you in the next few videos because this is where we're going to really get into the good stuff. So I will see you in the next one. Hey there. So in this video, we are going to be getting an introduction on dementia anger, why it happens, and the 4 most common reasons why our folks with dementia will get angry so that we can both prevent and calm our person before things get out of hand. Because having these things in mind are so important so that we can keep ourselves and our loved ones safe, the most important things of all. So with all that being said, let's hop right in. So the big question is, why do people with dementia get more easily agitated or angered or triggered than people without dementia? The answer to this is that dementia, in addition to causing memory loss and overall confusion, can also cause changes in folks' ability to regulate their moods and their emotions and the way they perceive the world and reality, just in general. All these changes within the brain that dementia is causing can cause similar experiences to more traditional mental illness out there. Something we want to keep in mind and put above all else is the safety of our person with dementia and the safety of ourselves. If we don't have a plan in place before a chaotic or potentially dangerous situation happens, it can make things so much worse. So it is so important to have local friends, family, law enforcement, and healthcare professionals that you can call if you feel like the situation has gone out of control and out of a way that you can keep yourself and that person safe. You need to have this backup at the ready before an emergency or an out of control situation happens. Also, if it hasn't quite escalated to that point, but you could tell your person with dementia is very upset, try to avoid getting near them or touching them until they have cooled off, because oftentimes you can put yourself into the line of fire if you aren't careful. It's totally okay to leave the room or give space or stop engaging with your person if they are screaming or starting to strike out. It's so important, number one, to keep both of you safe. And if it does come to a point where you do have to call for immediate emergency help and you call 911, make sure to say that they have dementia and that they are a danger to themselves and you feel like your safety is threatened to get that help. Very important. While everybody's experience of agitation and anger and dementia can be different, I have 4 of the most common reasons why our folks may become angry just for us to look out for. And these 4 reasons are: a person or an event, real or imagined, has triggered them being in pain or discomfort, overstimulation or overwhelm with the environment, or not having the words or other ways to express themselves. So we're going to dive into each of these one by one. Our first one is when an event or a person, real or imagined, has triggered them. Now, first off, the most important thing to know is that saying things like calm down or don't get upset aren't going to work, especially when our person with dementia is already not thinking from a very rational state of mind because of dementia, and them feeling triggered will just make it near impossible. So here are some steps that you can go through to de-escalate them if you, a different person, or a situation has triggered an agitated or frustrated response from them. First, you want to listen to their frustration. Oftentimes, this is enough, even on its own, to calm them down enough to get them to be able to be diverted or distracted or get involved with something else to keep them calm. Second is, once they are a little bit more calm, you want to assure them that you will fix what is wrong. It doesn't matter if what happened didn't actually happen or it wasn't your fault. Just the assurance that you are going to work on rectifying the situation for them is oftentimes enough to get everything to come down a notch. And last step, if they're still not calm or escalating further after you've listened to them and assured them, give them space or disengage with them until they calm. Second reason is oftentimes our folks with dementia can react to their inability to communicate that they're in pain or that something hurts with anger or frustration. So if that's the case, if you can't figure out immediately what is upsetting them, asking them if something hurts, or even just doing a quick visual check or physical check if they'll let you. Again, don't do it if you feel like they're going to strike out at you or it could potentially not be good. But making sure that they aren't in pain and adjusting things as needed can help resolve that form of anger. The third reason is our person with dementia could be getting overwhelmed or overstimulated with noise or things going on around them in the environment. Something a lot of people don't know about dementia is that you lose the ability to filter out extra noise or extra stimulation, kind of like our folks with autism have trouble doing. And a lot of noise around them can trigger a frustrated or angry response. So an easy way to see if this is the case is see if you can take them outside or in a quieter room, or even maybe put some headphones if you absolutely can't leave a noisy room, in order to block out some of the extra stimulation and see if that calms them down. Fourth reason is that they are getting frustrated that they don't have the words to express themselves anymore, and they're using anger or other behaviors to communicate their needs. And again, the way that you would figure out if this is the reason is listening to them, of asking some simple questions, and a little bit of trial and error. Maybe get them some things like water or a blanket or something like that until you can meet that need. So there you have it. The 4 most common reasons why our folks with dementia may get angry, which are a person or event, real or imagined, triggered them.
So Mike, I appreciate you taking the time out and talking with me. So my first question for you is, before you ran into our workshop, what was the biggest challenge you were facing?
My wife can get angry, and she's always been an awesomely pleasant lady.
Mm.
But this disease makes them get really angry. She can go from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde and vice versa in a second.
Wow.
So that's where I got information from you and your workshops, is how
Yeah.
to treat that, how to please her and talk to her. And it works.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. I just sit on the bed with her and tear off the pull-ups and have her stand out, change her, whatever. I learned a hell of a lot
Yeah.
from your workshops, honestly.
Yeah. And it's true. I think when you first start your caregiver journey, I think it's easy to not know the scope that
Oh, you
it's
don't
going
have a
to
clue.
cover.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
like
have,
it's taking over someone's entire life.
yeah, you don't have a clue. And the workshop's what started my knowledge of, besides her doctor telling me I needed help, then
Sure.
she also suggested there are workshops out there, and I saw yours, and here we are.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm curious, what are some things that you did learn from our workshop that was helpful to you, like the workshop specifically?
How to hold your temper how to not argue with them, be
Yeah.
a positive thinker, and whether they're your spouse or you're helping someone else's spouse, just don't get angry. And I saw how to approach changing her pull-ups or pajamas to clothes, clothing to pajamas,
Sure.
how to get her into the shower. I mean, my biggest coming of the role play and so forth, I think, was the communication part where I would say, I mean, I would get angry at her and I would say, don't you remember doing this or that? And that's where the role plays and stuff came in that your workshop taught me to watch my mouth and do it right, say the right things. And it
Yeah.
worked every bit of
Good.
every time. It works every time. I just,
Wow.
like I would sit her on the bed to change and she could put fingerprints in my arm muscles, but you just hug them and do what your role play said. You rub them, pet them, talk to them kindly, and you do whatever you can to soothe them out a little bit, I guess is the right word.
So it sounds
Um,
like there was like a lot of conflicts and a lot of fights before you
uh,
found our workshop in our community.
right, right. Your
Yeah.
workshop saved my life,
Oh,
basically.
wow. I'm so happy for you that you're able to get more confidence and just have more positive interactions with your
Yeah,
wife. I know that's huge. That's
it
huge.
is. It is huge. I mean, she still has the humor part to her. Even though it's setting in on 7 years now, she's still got some humor in part of that brain up there, but yet
Sure.
90% of it is the downtrend. And then
Mm.
I see it working every day. I see what
Oh,
happens.
wow. Yeah. Yeah. So what advice would you give other caregivers who maybe are just starting? And not even just about like the workshop or anything like that, but
Yeah.
or even but like what type of advice would you give them just in general about, what's worked for you on your journey?
Uh, the advice I would give them is patience is number one. And believe it or not, if you tend to want to get angry, don't. Just back up, leave her alone, go to another room, count to 10, go back, whatever it takes, just be patient. That's the main thing that I would tell you if you were attending to your LO, be patient. Just
Mm,
back up. If you're going to get angry, go do something else. If you can't lock her out of the kitchen cooking area, then find somewhere that you can put her that she's not in your way because
mm,
she will make you very mad when you're trying to
mm.
cook dinner. But I have gates. I can lock her out of my cooking area. And
Yeah.
she stands there and rattles the gate. So be patient. That's the number one
Yeah.
thing that I would tell anyone out there. If you are on the fence of anything, do it. Be patient, and
Yeah.
it'll work. I say it'll all work out. I don't mean to say it'll all work out in the end, but it will
Sure.
to the end.
Yeah.
Just be
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah.
I
It'll
have
just
to.
yeah, it's not an easy process caregiving for
No.
somebody, but hopefully it will make it maybe not feel quite so hard as
Yeah.
it could be.